Hi and welcome to my PlayHouse. And today we're in the data center for no reason whatsoever, because I want to talk to you about money and making money and, well, yeah, let's get into it. I think I need to do a disclaimer. This is not financial advice. You need to look into it yourself. So don't do as I do, just listen and make up your own mind. Money is an important thing because it's really tedious to trade chickens all the time. So we need to go out and make money. But there is a very nice saying that says, don't work for money, make your money work for you. And that is kind of what I want to talk about today, because a lot of people don't do this, and I used to not do this either. Like when it was the first of the month and my paycheck would come in, all of that money would already be accounted for. So I needed money for this and I needed money for that, and I had already, well, my account might be in negative, and then that became positive, and then there wasn't as much money on there, so all the rest of it was accounted for, and I just barely scraped along the way. I've always been good with money because when I grew up we didn't have a lot of it, and my mom was very good at sharing with us, the kids, what was going on financially as well. So we knew when there weren't a lot of money around, and then other times we saved up for stuff. So we got our first computer at home after we had saved up for it, and we got our first VCR at home after we had saved up for it. Like a family thing, we need to save up for some amount of time, and then my mom would go and purchase this VCR or this Commodore 128, which was the case back then, something that we got to look forward to for months. So got a very good understanding of how this money thing works, and I kind of went through the magazines and found where can you get this cheapest and stuff. And I actually work with that sort of stuff today. I purchased IT equipment for my workplace, and I'm very aware of the prices, and I want a good discount and stuff like that. Never mind. But more or less, I kind of think that everybody wants to be rich, and I think that's kind of achievable. We can't all be equally rich, but we could probably all be at a point where nobody has to really care about money. Like, well, you will have to care about it, but you wouldn't worry about it. Just like food, in all of the Western worlds, you don't worry about where your next meal is gonna come from. There are some few unlucky people that do, but most of us does not have to worry about that. And the same thing could be about money. Well, you have some money, so you don't worry about the money because you have them. It's kind of like the same thing with food. But to get there, you need to have some money, and that is the difficult part. Getting out of the month to month, there's just barely enough. That's tough. That's like stop smoking or start losing weight. It's difficult because you have these things that you think you always need and want. So I have prepared the blackboard, so I'm gonna try and show you that. To get on the way of becoming rich, you need to save something up. That's probably a bit of we save up. The good thing about saving up is that when you take your money and put them somewhere, well, you have kind of spent them. Except if you just put them in the bank. Because in the bank they will be sitting on an account and they will be burning in your pocket. Yeah, having a lot of money in the bank at the moment, 2024, is kind of a bad deal because of inflation. You know I'm gonna say inflation. Inflation is usually higher than the interest. So if you have like just some number, $10,000 is a manageable amount of money to have in the bank, and it's a very nice round number to play around with. If the inflation is like 3% and the interest is like 1%, well, then you kind of lose 2% a year. They don't disappear from your account, but the money that you have in your bank is kind of 2% less worth when you withdraw them after a year. And it's not like there's going to be 2% less money in there. The money that you have in there is just going to be able to buy 2% less than what you put in there. Even though with 1% interest, you're going to be withdrawing, can I calculate that? Well, see, if it was $100, it would be $1. So if it's $10,000, it will be $100, right? So you will be withdrawing $10,100 after a year because of that 1% interest. But it would feel like that 2% was being taken from the 10,000 instead. So purchase-wise, it would only be 9,900. That's not gonna do it. It's gonna be 9,800 ish. Some calculations going up and down in percentage that messes. So it's an ish. It's a rough estimate, and that is also dollars. You're gonna redraw that amount of money, but it's gonna feel like that amount of money. So yeah. But it's still better to have that amount of money in the bank than have spent it on something that doesn't appreciate either. So if you purchased a car instead, over the first year, that would probably have depreciated like 20-30%. 20-30%. So if you had that car for 1 year and sold it again, well, you would get 20-30% less for the car. So this is a better deal in that regard, for sure. First thing when you want to make a lot of money is to not have a lot of expenses, and very important to not have any debt, to not owe anyone any money. So if you have a lot of debt, well, usually it's a good idea to get rid of that first, to pay that off. But how do you pay that off? Well, you pay that off by not having a lot of expenses. I started really feeling that I was in control with my money when I got rid of my apartment. I had an apartment that I was renting in a big city, and that apartment, it was about, let's just say it was about $1,000 a month. That's not expensive, but it was a lot of money. Before I got the apartment, I also had a house. And I got the house, which is my PlayHouse here. I got that house because I was irritated that I was paying $1,000 every month that I would never see again. So I thought I need to get some kind of an investment that I'm not gonna be renting, but that I'm gonna be paying off. So I purchased this house, my PlayHouse. I think it might have been around 45,000 euros. Sorry, dollars. I'm using dollars because American people can't figure out euros, but European people can figure out euros, dollars. So I purchased that, and then instead of renting, I was paying it off every month. So I had a mortgage on it, so I was paying that off with about 2,000 Danish kroners. What is that? That's like $300 a month. probably. Plus I had a bank loan as well, where I could pay off the bank loan as much as I wanted to. There was a small amount that I had to pay off every month, but then I could put more money on it. So I did that fairly quick. I paid off the bank loan, which was the expensive one, and then I only had this $300 thing a month to pay off the house. So compared to the apartment up here, which cost me $1,000 a month, the house was very cheap. This house is not in an area where it's very expensive, and there is like between the apartment where I was living in the weekdays and my house where I was doing the weekends, that was like 55-minute drive. So at some point I was actually irritated about the apartment. It was mostly about the parking, because it was a hassle to park in the city. This apartment was a very nice and cheap apartment, very nicely located in the second largest city here in Denmark. So the rent was very affordable for that apartment. I got a really good deal on it when I moved in, and but then the whole thing was sold to a bigger company, and this bigger company saw that, well, Morten is only paying that amount of money. If we get him out of there and renovate a little bit, we can probably charge twice as much. So I was actually offered to piss off and find somewhere else, and with a nice little bonus, like a little piss off gift. And I took that, I negotiated it, and I took it. And then I moved into my house. If you have been with me for a long time, you'll remember that I moved to my PlayHouse, and then I had a good chunk of money that I was able to put towards paying out my house. I think it was about $13,000 that I got in hand, was able to pay off of my house loan, together with some money that I had actually saved up a little bit. Saved up is up here. So together with the stuff that I had saved up, and this was a little bit more than 10 years after I had purchased the house, I was able to pay off my house. So now I could cancel this expense. I did not have that anymore, and I did not have that expense anymore. So suddenly I had like $1,300 at least every month to myself. With $1,300 extra in the pocket, well, you need to do something with your money to make them grow. And you need to find something that beats inflation. I've just called inflation 3%. That is, of course, it varies all the time, from month to month, year to year, week to week even. But normally it's down in that area, and when it becomes too high, it becomes rather bad. So you need to find something that will beat that inflation, so that your money will grow instead of shrink. This year the stock market has been really popular. It's just been going up. You can't count on that every year, but it's better to have the money in stocks than in the bank. Maybe not in the short run, but if you look at it over time, the stock market has always outperformed inflation. So you really want to do some investments if you want to beat the inflation and have your money become worth more. And what you're really looking for is compounding interest, and that is where the interest is invested, and you get more and more. So if we start with that $10,000 again, and we ignore the inflation, and to make it really simple, we're gonna say that we get 10% payback on that. That is really high. It's not impossible, but it's really high. But that means that after a year we actually get $1,000 extra, which means that we now have $11,000. And after another year we get That's now 12,000, and we get $100 of the $1,000, so that's 0. So after 2 years we have already made 1/5 of our investment back in interest. And when this really becomes interesting is when we're getting more money out of the interest that we have already had than the amount that we put in. So at some point, which is not that far out, we will be over $20,000, and at that point it's not this amount that is paying us the most amount of money. Now it's the compounding interest that will be running the forward momentum, but it takes some time to get there. Yeah, I have an interesting thing that I'm playing around with at the moment that I'll share a little bit of that. I've been purchasing some stocks, and I found some very interesting stocks that are called REITs, and it's usually some real estate thing. And real estate, they have like a set income, so they know what money is coming in and what money is going out, and they use these stocks to purchase new real estate and stuff. But the funny thing about REITs is that they have to pay out 90% of their earnings to the stockholders to be able to use the sticks, and there are some tax benefits thingy in the US for that. So what I do is that I spend every month, I spend 10,000, and these are Danish kroners. That is approximately $1,500. I get one of these REITs stocks for that amount of money, 10,000, and these REITs stocks, they pay out. They go really low, you can like 2%, but they also go really high, so you can get some that goes all the way up to like, I have some that 18%. Crazy. When it pays out that much, it's very dangerous because that inflates the stock price of it. So if it pays out a lot, there's a big chance that the stock goes down in price, and there is no benefit of getting an 18% payout. If the stock falls 25%, then you're still a loser. But some of these, I've kind of picked some that is like about 12%, and I've done that for a reason, because these stocks also usually pays out every 4 months or 4 times a year or 12 times a year. And with 12%, that means that you get 1% every month. And with, well, then you get 4 times, that's 3%. And that has the added benefit of I feel like I'm getting something for my investment. So of 10,000 Danish kroners, I get like, and I purchased one of these, I get like 120 Danish kroners. That's about a family pizza every month, paid out. Then there are some taxes, so in the other end it's more like 100 Danish kroners. But that's 100 Danish kroners that I can now every month I can add, or what I actually do, I take that 100 Danish kroners and I subtract it from the 10,000. So next month I only have to transfer 9,900 to still do a 10,000 Danish kroners investment on the next stock. And I am not sure if this is smart at all, but it feels very nice in my head that I'm getting this very early kickback. And I make sure that I don't get the same stock every time. I get another one next time, so that I have like 10 different of these at the moment, and every month I find and I purchased another one. So if one of these really goes down in value, it's it's gonna be a loss, but it's not gonna be all of it. Like if I just kept buying the same stock every month, that would be a big loss to lose that. So at the moment I am at a point where I'm only needing to transfer like 8,000 Danish crowns every month to make a new investment of 10,000 because of these stocks that I have that are paying a monthly dividend. And I hope that's pretty smart. I've only done this for like half a year, so I'm not gonna tell you that this is the holy grail, but at the moment it seems pretty okay. Very modest here, sorry. I hope everybody knows what dividend is. When you have a stock, let's say we buy a $100 stock in something. If they then pay out 2% in dividends, that means that you get $2 transferred to your stock holding, wherever you have your stocks. When they pay out the dividends, well, that dividends $2 becomes available in your portfolio as cash, and you can then spend that again. Where I have my stocks, they automatically tax me, so in my case it would be a bit less than $2. That would be $1 something, and that all of that money is then mine to do with what I pleases. So yeah, that's how dividend. And the normal thing, some companies don't pay out dividends at all. Some pays it out every year. Some pays it out on years when it has been really good. Some pay it out 2 times, 4 times, 12 times a year. And yeah, you can look out for that. So this is really not any kind of get rich quick scheme. It takes a lot of money to make this worth anything, or it takes a lot of time. The compounding interest, the longer you do it, the better you're off. If you had started this 30 years ago, put in $1,000 on an account that would do that, you would already be smiling. The sooner you get going and make your money work for you instead of you working for money, the sooner you will be smiling and making money in your sleep. It also gives a lot of safety, because if you have like a huge amount of money in your bank, you're not really as reliant on your job as if you need that next paycheck to pay for this and that and that. You could actually be more picky and get a better job. Enough rambling. I would very much like to hear what you're doing about your money in the comments below. So thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a really nice day. Bye bye.